In the Big Ten Wrestling Finals in 2019, we had a rematch between Spencer Lee and Sebastian Rivera. This match went Sebastian Rivera's way 7-3 in the finals of the Midlands. So this was the chance for Spencer Lee to get that loss back. He obviously beat Sebastian Rivera both times last year. If you're watching this video now and you'd already seen a previous video on this, I actually did make a video on this right after the match had ended, but there were some sound issues. So right now I'm running it back, and hopefully this time it's a little bit smoother. So right now we'll start off with the highlights, and then once I get through the highlights, and I'll go through the bracket itself and talk about some of the other matches that happened and some of the other results. So here's Spencer Lee getting in on his first shot. So he's got the head high. That's usually good. Rivera's going to try to pull that leg over. Now, it's worth noting here, it does kind of look like the kneecap or the knee almost starts to get extended back, almost like in a knee bar. Rivera does get kind of close to that position a couple times, but he never really tries to crank on it like he's a jiu-jitsu guy going for a knee bar. So I really didn't see an issue with what he was doing here. Calling for a stalemate. Gets over. Whistle's blown now. And then Rivera gets on top. So it might look like the whistle kind of saved Lee there, but Rivera got on top after the whistle was blown. So Lee stopped wrestling when the whistle got blown. So really nothing too outrageous there. But eventually Lee's going to be able to start scoring here. So this is in the second period. Rivera starts on top, and Lee's going to be able to get an escape. Hard whizzer here, but doesn't get any reversal points here. So he gets the escape. Decent wrestling for him in the second period, though. Next thing will be his takedown. Or actually, a little further along. He's going to get his mat return. And there's his 2 points. And he was able to ride him out for the rest of the period from there. So that gives him a 3-0 lead and also helps out a lot with the riding time. So he's going to start the next period on top. Now, it's worth mentioning that though he was on top of Sebastian Rivera for a while and he did get the riding time point, he wasn't really all that close to turning him. There were a couple times where he was able to isolate the arm, kind of like you can see here. But anytime you start to get close to that, Rivera would kind of spring right up, and that would explain what happened here. Rivera pops up. And it's kind of really quick to see. It looks almost as though Lee's out of bounds by the time Rivera gets out, but Lee actually did have his foot in, so they made the right call by giving the 1 point to Rivera here. So now Spencer Lee effectively has a 4-1 lead because he has the riding time up here as well. So Rivera is going to need to take him down, cut him, and take him down again, or he's going to need some kind of penalty point. And fortunately for him, he gets the penalty point, which I guess you could argue whether or not the call. I think it's a pretty fair call here. So you saw the hand to the face just briefly. What he was trying to do is push underneath the chin to get his head up, but the hand kind of slid up and into the face, and by rule, that's hands to the face. I think in the spirit of the rule, that's not really right. I think the spirit of the rule is you don't want people slapping each other in the face or getting a little too aggressive, kind of like what we had with Zane Rutherford in the past, but you really can't go off the spirit of the rule. You have to go off of the rule itself. And even though this isn't really in the spirit of the rule here to call that hands to the face, the rule is the rule, and that's technically hands to the face. I hate it. I hate the fact that makes it 3-2. But hey, if you're Spencer Lee, you know what? It's still 3-2, and you have riding time. So at this point, all you need to do is either not get taken down, get a takedown, bury it away, or if you do get taken down, pop back up quickly. But unfortunately for him, that's not how things worked out. So after a long review, and what's worth noting with this review is that Spencer Lee's had some issues with cardio later on in some of these matches. These long reviews give him time to catch his breath, so you'd figure that he'd be a little bit less tired than normal. So in a normal match at this point, he'd be more tired than he's going to be in this match, because in this match there was a long review. But unfortunately, even after all that time, Rivera comes in on a single, gets his hands clasped behind, tries to scoop in. And he gets his 2 points here. And from there, he's able to ride him out, and in turn, he gets the 4-3 lead, but then the riding time isn't enough to get underneath the minutes, and now it's 4-4, and they go to overtime. So kind of upsetting for Spencer Lee. He had a good chance to win it here, and sort of blows it. But now they're in overtime. There was a hands to the face point given out. I'm sure the Iowa bench is pretty pissed about it. So next time that Rivera gets close to touching his hand on the face, they're ready to go. So they thought they saw it right there briefly. Branch just chucks the brick in. But unfortunately, this one, it was kind of in the forehead. It wasn't really directly on the face, as the replay will show. Yeah, so not really in the whole face area right here, which is where it would have to be for it to be a call. So no point given. So Lee doesn't get the victory off of a hands to face after being in this position because of a hands to the face. But now they're going to keep wrestling from there. And it's worth giving Lee some credit in that he was the one who was attacking in overtime. He's the one who's shooting. But this last shot here, you don't expect to see this out of Lee. So gets in on the double. At this point, you figure he'd keep driving through, but ends up getting driven back himself. And Rivera gets the win. So to go through the bracket at this weight class, obviously in the finals, Sebastian Rivera ends up beating Lee. For quarterfinals down, Rivera got a win over Devin Schroeder of Purdue, 20-4 tech fall. Then beat Rayvon Foley 14-6, got a major there, and then had that win over Spencer Lee that we just went over. Foley got to the semifinals by beating Petrowski 7-3. On the other half of the bracket, Sean Russell majored Drew Matton 10-1, while Spencer Lee pinned Elijah Oliver rather quickly. Oliver had gotten a pretty good win there to find himself in that match with Lee, but unfortunately for him, got taken out pretty quickly. And then Spencer Lee, who had beaten Sean Russell 4-0 earlier in the year, beats him 8-0 this time, gets a major decision, and then makes it to the final. The place winners here at this weight are Sebastian Rivera at number 1, Spencer Lee at number 2, Sean Russell 3, Elijah Oliver, who was the 10 seed, worked his way all the way up to number 4, Travis Petrowski 5, Rayvon Foley 6, Drew Matton 7, and Devin Schroeder 8. One thing worth mentioning, one thing that I saw after making the first video, is that there was like a screenshot taken from the first period where it looked like Rivera was kind of close to getting a hand to the face. I think in that picture too, it was also sort of in the forehead. I kind of get where it's coming from, where if you're an Iowa fan, and I am an Iowa fan, I hate that this match effectively was decided by the hands of the face. Yes, Lee still had more than enough opportunities to win it after that happened. It's not as though this was a tie match and then with like a second left, there's a hands of the face call. Like, he was up effectively 4-1 at the time. Even though that made it 4-2, he still had plenty of time to get the win here and find a way to make things work, and he didn't. So credit to Rivera for coming back there, but even still, without the hands of the face, this is a much more difficult match for Rivera to win and find a way to come back and win. I hate that it works out this way where they don't have warnings on this like they do with stalling, which is kind of odd. You have to make the call if the call is there, which they did make the call. I think they made the right call, but I think that when the rule was made, there was a spirit behind it, which is more so that people weren't just smacking each other in the face. And it's clear that what Lee was doing was not attempting to smack Rivera in the face. He was just trying to push his chin up and create some space to defend a takedown. And unfortunately, his hand kind of slid up. So you hate to see a big match like that affected that way. They're not going to change this rule in the season, so this could potentially have some serious issues in the NCAA tournament too. This is a pretty high-profile issue of it, or a pretty high-profile case of it coming up. There's also the Suriano versus Fix match where hands to the face was becoming a bit of an issue too. Although in that case, Suriano was getting a little bit more handsy than Spencer Lee was. So hopefully nothing too bad happens at Nationals where hands to the face call ruins a big match. But that's a possibility. I just hope it doesn't happen that way. And then in the offseason, maybe they change how they go about the rules. So maybe they keep the rule, but they have a warning in place, kind of like stalling. So you have like a stalling warning for hands to the face, or you have like a hands to the face warning. And then if you do it again, then you eventually get it. Because it's not like these guys are like punching each other in the face out there. If you take one hard hand to the face before points start getting taken away, I mean, so be it. These are tough guys. They can handle it. So hopefully that's what they do moving forward, because you hate to see matches end